Hello and welcome to this continuing epic look at Pelopidarum Secunda, which we have variously given the name of Pelops, the next generation, or the fall of the House of Pelops, depending on where we go. We do need to find a good title for it because, frankly, Pelopidarum Secunda is not a seller. I don't see that selling many seats. I don't. It is an interesting compilation mashup of various Greek and Roman sources. We're in the middle of what was probably mostly Sophocles' Electra, but we will come out the other side of that into other stuff later on. This author is doing all sorts of interesting things with it, and as ever, we are indebted to the wonderful person of the wonderful people of Reed who have transcribed this text. So it is available on the internet. There will be a link in the show notes if you want to go and look at the manuscript as transcribed. I don't think it's had any modern editorial stuff happening to it in the modern world. It has just been transcribed, and so that is what we're reading, and that is what we will stumble over as we try and get to grips and try to wrestle this epic text down to the ground. Reading the text today, reading Cassandra, Tymar, Orestes, Philopatris, and Heliodor is...
It's Tom from Brighton.
Reading Clytemnestra, Lysani, Pylades, and Leucothea is...
I am Greg. I'm going to ring up and try and get some cream for some of these names, I think.
Yes, indeed. Suffering from Glaucopis and Theop is...
Desna from Lancaster.
Reading Aegisthus, Chorus of Captives, Pytha, Eurysthenes, and Chrysothenis is...
Rachael, actor on the East Coast.
And reading Electra and Euthy is...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I am here with all my weapons, both fictional and real, which is basically, a pencil.
Indeed. Sharp, pointy things. They're around. Always look for a weapon. Anyway, I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading stage directions. There aren't that many, but they are occasionally quite interesting. We are rejoining the play towards the end of Act 3, as far as we can tell. It's quite difficult sometimes figuring out what is the act and scene number in this manuscript, but we're calling this Act 3, Scene 3. It might not be. It might be Act 3, Scene 4. I'm a bit confused now. Anyway, but that's what we're calling it. It could actually be a continuation of Act 3, Scene 2, because, frankly, there isn't really a meaningful gap between this scene and the last scene. Electra was on stage, talking, being sad. Enter 2 Electra, Clytemnestra, Aegisthus, Storge, and various other people.
Then, saucy girl that seeks thy mother's rack, how darest thou gad in open companies?
I, being a maiden, feel so the adulterers lest the like vices should pollute my mind.
Art thou a maiden, and so malapart?
Will you disprove your daughter's honesty?
Thou shouldst not so control thy mother's words.
What will you teach me duty to my parents?
Oh, too, you are a mankind minion, but I will make thee learn obedience.
Like a sword becomes a woman's hand.
Oh, thinkst thou thyself co-equal with us, girl?
With us? Why, who is your Agamemnon now?
Henceforward I'll keep down thy sauciness and tame thy courage with authority.
Mean space, you are a widow, are you not?
Oh, tell where is thy brother and my son, Orestes?
He is gone from hence.
Deliver me my son.
And you, my father, whom you murdered.
Tell me what place thy brother's hidden in.
He's safe enough, and fear no upstart king. This is sufficient to a loving mother.
Oh, but not enough to serve thy angry mind. Thou shalt not live alone above this present day.
Content, let that hand rack overthrow them. Then will I leave the altars of the gods come cut my throat, willingly will yield. Or, if thou wilt bereave me of my head, behold, my neck is ready for the stroke. And wash thy hands in thy daughter's blood, which in thy husband's death were exercised. You know how easy it is to kill a king. My father knows it, but you have the skill.
Smilest thou, Aegisthus, at her sauciness, and wilt not rather strictly punish her? Seest thou this minion, how she bridle bites and hides her brother from her mother's sight?
What, maiden, use your tongue so lavishly? Speak to your mother as beseemeth you.
Art thou come forth, my bloody murderer and worker of this cruel treachery? Thou misbegotten of a cruel stock, born of thy sister and thy grandsire's son.
I smile, Electra, at thy foolishness, thus to provoke us into cruelty.
Aegisthus, straight bereave her of her head, or let her live in prison all her days, and always suffer cruel punishment. Perhaps she may by long oppression and poverty and want of necessaries descry her brother's secret lurking place. She shall be banished from all company, at last shall yield being tamed with misery.
Nay, let me die, Aegisthus, let me die.
He is no tyrant which his enemies by death shall cause to end their miseries.
And there any other thing be worse than death?
Yea, life, if death be that which thou desirest. Then take her hence into the dungeons dark, and bind her fast till prison tameth her. Begone, her sight is loathsome unto us.
So let Cassandra, Atrides' concubine, with Agamemnon end her wretched days.
Nay, draw me not. I follow readily. I long to pierce Averon's loathsome lake and bring these tidings to my countrymen, that all the seas are filled with Grecian ships and drowned in the Aegean as came from Troy, and that a stranger in Mycenae ravings when Agamemnon, general of the Greeks, like to our Trojans late beset with griefs, is perished by a woman's treachery. The news from hence brought of this heavy chance will make them in Elysian fields to dance. I linger not to save my wretched life. This is a comfort to my wounded heart, grieved before by Trojan miseries, to see these mischiefs fall on Greece.
Die, raging woman! Die, Cassandra! Die!
The time shall shortly come, thou tyrant fell, when some of you shall rage as well as I scorn not made folks if all were understood. Madness in Greece may chance to do some good. Come forth, my loving countrymen, let Cassandra take her last adieu. Leave off to mourn, you captive men of Troy. Vengeance is come upon your enemies. Farewell, farewell, this is my last farewell. No more the fleeting breath will let me speak, but see my body straight be buried.
And everybody exits. Chorus of captives now speak.
Oh, Cassandra, Cassandra, hear us. No help, alas, for she is dead. Come, let us take her hence to bury her, and bear with worthy patience our loss. The time may come, we may again return, and build those walls again which now are burnt. In vain we weep, since weeping naught prevails, and with our tears the grass is withered. In vain we mourn, since mourning cannot help. And every bird within these Mycenaean woods laments to hear our lamentation.
And they exit bearing out the dead corpse. And now we have some chorus action. Various chorus speakers take up the cudgels.
Every race of noble place doth incline farther to run in sin begun through all the line. As a disease that haps to phase and touch in one, the rest inherit a kind of spirit that way prove. Thyestes' deed, and that his seed did show it most, that made pretence for his offence, his father's ghost. And though to kill these two from hell he were incited, his guiltiness is not the less, nor he acquitted. He hath the crown and beareth down the rightful heir, a king and married, and faults are carried with life's fair. Electra wailing, her mother railing, doth tears forbid. Orestes sought, ne'er taking oft, yet safe and hid. Well, all must prove the gods above are true and just. This king in vain hath two kings slain, for die he must.
Shall never mischiefs end in Pelops' progeny, or shall it comprehend all true iniquity? Aegisthus that controls our realm with proud direction, and holds the silly souls, king's children, in subjection. He killed his cousin last, but first his father's brother, and made one murder pass to step unto another. Although he these to kill be ordered from on high, yet heaven's sacred will in him his villainy.
See kingdoms' instabilities, an easy thing to slay one that brings home foreign victories, for treachery to prey on. A wretch that with a queen looks babies in her eyes is often happier seen than such great victories. A court in idleness, absence of husband's eye, and woman's wantonness. What sin can all these say? The conqueror of Troy, brave Agamemnon dead, his murderer doth enjoy the crown made for his head. Rebellion hath reason to put some princes down, when the reward of treason is no less than a crown. Adulterers have cause, but weak cause, to excuse it, when without fear of laws no less than princes use it. But to the gods that spare none for their lofty looks, to them all sceptres are as are poor shepherds' crooks. Then he that fears no way, body and soul to sever, and fears no reckoning day, let that man sin forever.
Cassandra, I must not forget. She died for her prophecies. So wisdom wrongfully beset, for sees and suffers, speaks and dies. For Trojan lady captive led, even myself a Greek, lament you, our king that brought you, see dead. But this one loss at least content you. The gods have sent their bounds to war, to triumph over enemies. No conquest that can reach so far, to triumph over destinies.
Chrysothemis, you see how kindness did her move, not 20 such as she, worth one Electra's love. Their nature was not clean, but out of her possession. Yet she is not worth a bean in help or in discretion. A friend that never can, nor dareth me defend, that is a loving man, as good a foe as friend. If gods him courage give, and fortune do not frown, Orestes yet may live, to purge and wear our crown. Come, sweet Orestes, come, and expedition make. The time is long to some, afflicted for thy sake. Thy sister that did venture at freedom thee to set, from hands that do torment her, to free her is thy debt.
Exit chorus. And there ends what is allegedly the end of Act 3. I have thoughts on that. I suspect that the scene should end with Electra being dragged off to a dungeon dark. I then think the random bit with Cassandra should live at the end of Act 2. It doesn't. It makes so much more sense if they murder Agamemnon and then they turn around and kill Cassandra. Then it feels really weird that Cassandra, for no apparent reason, is suddenly there and should have died ages ago. But I have to say, I do love the line "Die, raging woman, die, Cassandra, die." I feel that needs to be on a t-shirt. as a vitally important line. I don't quite know how to pass the amount of material because it creates problems about what the chorus. Because it's weird because the end of Act 2, the chorus it starts with chorus number 2, as it's labelled. So maybe it goes all the way down to that chorus of captives, and then the Act 3 chorus is still correct here. So yeah, there's some editorial decisions to be made there. I don't know. It's a weird text, so maybe they just put Cassandra's death in there for the sake of it. It sort of works, but it's weird that you're basically having a fight between mother and daughter, though admittedly quite high stakes, to then just randomly murder someone as you drag her away. So thoughts in the room. Some interesting stuff in there. Confused though. Eric.
Yeah, I think what you're saying basically makes sense. But also what I enjoyed about the Clytemnestra Electra scene was basically like, go to your room. I'm already in my room. You can't do anything about that. It just feels very sort of, teenage daughter replying to adult, but like with threats instead of sort of, you're grounded as a punishment.
Yeah, I like that because so much of that dialogue is basically a series of questions. Nobody's answering anybody else's questions; they're just raising with another question as it goes back and thinkst thou thyself co-equal with us, girl? Yeah. Other thoughts, Rachael? No, Rachael? Yes, Rachael? No, Rachael. Right. Yes, Rachael.
Sorry. No, I was looking at the thing because there is a theme here. Like I think it is I agree with you that it would be nice for it to be with Agamemnon's death scene, but Electra does come in and call Clytemnestra an adulterer. And she then goes after Cassandra because Agamemnon, that is his extramarital affair too. And there is some theme of adultery there. And there's some, there's also the murder on Clytemnestra's part, but I think from Clytemnestra's point of view, she's viewing it as the, as that betrayal, as that emotional betrayal. And I think there's some evenness there that she's trying to get in this adultery scene.
Other thoughts? I say we're just sort of getting back in the zone, as it were. The chorus once again continues to just dance around different verse forms. It's like no one speaker speaks the same length of line or for the same length of time as the other. I mean, it's we've had this in a lot of neoclassical stuff, where people really mess around with how the choruses speak. But yeah, it continues that trend. I mean, there's some nice stuff in there. But I mean, Desna, you had the one with the shortest line. That's really weird dancing.
Quite hard to read and keep any sense of what you're saying. Yeah.
Because each line is barely 2, 3, 4 words long. I mean, it's there's so many rhymes to get down. Okay, I think we've got our head in the game now. We now have the entirety of Act 4 to work our way through over this rest of the session as we figure out what is what. So. It's not the bit of paper I was looking at. That is the bit of paper I was looking at. Yes, it is. Excellent. So, yes, Act 4, Scene 1. We have a whole load of people on stage now. We have enter Eurysthenes, Orestes, and Pylades.
Noble Orestes born of princely blood, whose worthy father, Atreus, royal son, renowned at Troy, leading the powers of Greece, was by the vile attempt of traitors slain. Now are you come unto that wished place, where you so long time have desired to be. Here is my Mycenae, and those palaces that with thy father's guiltless blood were stained. From hence I took thee, being then a child, and let my carriage past protest for me. I loved thee ere Orestes tenderly, virtue distressed when fortune most doth scorn it. I love in spite of fortune to adorn it, unable to defend thyself from wrong. I carefully have brought thee up till now, that thou mayst prove a stout and wise revenger. Stoutness scorns fear, but wisdom scapes ye danger. Now, noble prince, the time requires that you, and this your dearest friend, some counsel take.
They join heads.
Counsel is it with all things sure make. Counsel is it with all things sure must make. Two young heads joined with an old head to direct. Such knots and plots do seldom want effect.
Here stay.
Dot quickly unconfounded with temerity. Swift in advice, advised with celerity.
O thou the faithfulest of Orestes' train, well do I now perceive thy loyalty. Even like a gentle steed in wearied age, though little can his weary joints perform, yet feareth not in the midst of bloody war. So thou, though weakened now by elder age, yet still retainest that of thy former mind, and with like courage ready art to help what dangers shall at any time betide. Hear then my mind, and if aught be amiss, thou mayest amend it by thy rapier wit. When I repaired to Delphos to inquire how best I might revenge my father's death, the oracle was given forth, that I, in secret wise, would to Mycenae come, and set upon Aegisthus unprovided. You, therefore, shall unto the palace go, and see how all things there are ordered. Doubtless there are none that will remember you, because that withered with age hath changed your fate, and all the features of your personage say that a stranger from Phocus came out of Plantonius' court, which since the war hath entertained you as his guest and friend, to bring them tidings of Orestes' death, saying that headlong from his chariot he fell. I, as the oracle commanded me, will sacrifice unto my father's ghost, powering large streams of milk upon his grave, and lay there on sweet flowers and these my locks. In sign I come to revenge his death, and then with that same fane hearse we have amongst the bushes yonder hid, this maid you thither carry with you.
And he kneels.
Great gods, the gracious guider of my youth, who so beyond all expectation have me preserved and out of danger's mouth so oft I hope to some good action me rescued. You whose reaching providence foreseeth long before with sharpest eye even all those sinners which after evidence long smothered to the world doth decry. You who detest the man of blood and guilt, and cannot see that innocently spilt, vouchsafe to look upon this wretched place, distressed in so lamentable case, and shall prodigious tyrants still express by treachery and damned practices this noble country without all redress? Shall Agamemnon unavenged be, my dear, my noble father, or shall he, and shall she glut herself with villainy? Oh, let some dreadful spectacle affright their very souls. Let heavens and hells despite conspire in one to heap whole seas of woe upon their sinful wicked carcasses. Oh, let me now nature itself forego. Let duty, love, and all what our respects cease towards her, who thus them all neglects. Add double strength unto these arms of mine, that when I strike, I might strike with such might as fits your service and my father's right. Oh, help, revenge me, and yourselves, so I shall evermore your altars glorify and slay whole hecatombs of goodly beasts, attending duly on your sacred feasts.
And here Orestes rises.
So now this 'tis well, methinks I have courage take, and laugh to see how they already quake. It's your old lesson, I remember it. The gods will sin with double vengeance quite. Sir, you have told me oft, it's very true. Gods grant me the truth of it now may ensue.
Doubt not 'tis you that are reserved to this, to bring the earth from tyrants' rack to bliss. This honor to Orestes doth belong, to right their causes who have suffered wrong.
And Electra speaks from within.
By me out, alas.
Methinks I hear one mourn and weep within.
'Tis my unhappy sister Electra, but shall we stay and hearken to her plaints?
No, noble prince, no, not at any hand. We have no leisure hearkening here to stand. Go, noble prince, and execute with speed the dread commands of Phoebus' oracles.
And Orestes museth.
Muse you? That's well. My brains must hammer too. All's little enough, for we have much to do.
Go, reverend sir, and such be thy success as may them force their damned facts confess. Meantime, myself and my companion, my only chiefest consolation, my Pylades, will to my father's tomb and pray our rites there in some secret room. How say you, Pylades? Shall it be so?
Whate'er unto Orestes seemeth good cannot but like his Pylades he must, and will Orestes still accompany. Oh, how it gladdeth my heart, oft pensive heart. How do my spirits leap and sympathize to think how we have passed our former smart and returned to our jollities. See thy country and these stately towers, to view my see these strong and fenced walls, to me as pleasant as were they ours.
I know it, Pylades. This but thyself. You never yet wert other unto me. Oh, that I might then all bestow on thee.
On me? No, no, Orestes, fitter is to sway Mycenae's crown than Pylades. A stranger I'll ever honour thee and do thee service as beseemeth thee, me.
Service? Oh, that I had 1,000 such, one worth far more than 10,000 mines of gold. Yet let me tell Pylades this thing. If that the gods with favouring aspect vouchsafe to grant us prosperous success, and all these monstrous villainies redress, then no, thy part cannot then mine be less. I cannot reign without my Pylades.
I will not to wrong Orestes. Shall I with him divide his father's crown, and rob him half of his felicity, who of himself and me would lay all down, and even relinquish his whole empery? No, Pylades, thy thoughts are not so base. With thee Orestes must have chiefest place.
Then I'll leave it all, it shall never be said. Orestes in his kingdom one might stayed, when Pylades a subject still remained. O Pylades, what now injure us? And wilt thou now begin discourteousness? We that so many years so friendly have a never broken league of friendship held, must we now square, and in one all depraved by one act, each from another be repelled? Then better I had been exiled still, and lived abroad, though much against my will. Fie, Pylades, shall we two now contend? A scepter's but a rush to such a friend.
For love Orestes thou dost offer me, for love Orestes I refuse of thee. Oh, would to God thy chance and hap was such as I could wish thou shouldst not then need strive. Thy state of daily difference would revive. Meantime, think rather how thou mayest surprise before thou hast it what good to devise. The thing thou seest, what is it but revenge? The thing thou dalliest with and thus put'st off, what is it else but grateful sweet revenge? The thing thou punishest, what but revenge? All is revenge, and if revenge be all, who can escape when she begins to call? Indeed, indeed, thou art too patient. How can thy hands be so long abstinent? A greater check than father unrevenged can never fall to son. Why then let's on. Let's to thy father's tomb and sacrifice in our last service our just obsequies. Then may we to our weighty work and take such strong revenge as shall his kingdom shake.
Contented, dear Pylades, thy counsel's good. Great Agamemnon now were come to thee, and sacrifice unto thy blessed ghost. Oh, that thou hast prevented by thy life these after quarrels and this deadly strife. Oh, that those eyes had seen but these of mine, and marked thine own in this my face to shine.
And yes, we're on much surer ground once again, as we are. This feels very much like a straight lift from Sophocles. I haven't got my copy in front of me, but off the top of my head, that all feels awfully familiar. Yeah, we've got a lot of that whole question of revenge, not revenge. Should we revenge? Should we do some revenge? I don't know. Should we kill? Ooh. Just that little bit of Electra within the stage directions are really interesting. I mean, once again, we get here stay, which is basically mean pause. And then, we've got kneeling, rising, Orestes doing a bit of musing. I don't know what he's doing there. Just moments. There's. It's nice you get those little details. But yeah, there's something really nice about that weird. They join heads. It's not quite Thundercat ho. But it does have that sort of quality of we're all together in this, aren't we? So yeah, two young heads joined with an old head to direct. So yeah, there's some interesting things going on here. I say much closer to source material. It feels much tighter. But I could be wrong on that front. Thoughts in the room? How are people responding to this so far? Who wants to leap in? I know someone does. Go on, you know you want to. I've said words. Other people can say words too. Eric?
It feels a bit like sort of, I mean, obviously they're friends and sort of the whole revenge thing is kind of there. But it just reminds me of... sort of, you hang up. No, you hang up. No, I love you more. No, it just like it just seems a bit like that, but also it's not. I mean, I know the original. Anyway, I'm familiar with the scene and like what it means in that context, but yeah, it kind of feels a bit like that.
Well, yeah,
I'm enjoying the language though.
Yeah, in the process of it being adapted and translated, this author may have given it a slightly different spin. I have to say there is something. They're very close. So yeah, there may be that angle going on here as well as interesting thoughts. Other thoughts in the room? Nobody has any thoughts. Eric.
Well, yeah, actually, I was going to say something else, but then I realized that it doesn't work. I was going to say this is also a bit Spanish tragedy-ish. Like sort of revenge, and do your thing, revenge, but also kind of, yeah, no, it's an interesting scene.
I think you're absolutely bang on with Spanish tragedy. I think that's we've been discussing where we might place this because we've got quite a wide dating range. I feel sometime in the aftermath of Spanish tragedy feels very, very right. And yeah, thou revengest, but what revenge, sweet revenge, old revenge, the revenge. They're really enjoying the word revenge. Vindicta mihi has not been said, but I wouldn't put it past them at all. Would we like some more, or do you have any additional thoughts to throw in? Okay, let's dig into this a little bit more. Act 4, I'm calling it Scene 2. I don't really know where the scenes all rest here. Enter Aegisthus and Clytemnestra.
So looks Diana when her silver shine is veiled with a misty cloud of rain. Sweet Clytemnestra, let the gladsome rays of joy and pleasure pierce these clouds of grief, and shine upon Aegisthus as before. Let not thy weeping eyes thus daily rain upon thy cheeks, lest at the last dissolved, like Cyane, thou be consumed to naught. Clear up, sweet love, and with a bright aspect rejoice Aegisthus' heart. See how he droops to see thy beauty so eclipsed with grief. What, not a word? My dear, dearest love, what means this woe, this sorry pensiveness? Speak, gracious queen, and let Aegisthus hear, if anything there be you yet do fear.
Ah, my Aegisthus, in this wounded breast, a much festering sorrow daily doth arise, and ancient sores begin anew to smart. Death of my husband moves me on to hate, but love of thee, sweet love, withdraws me back. I fear my sons and daughters' treachery, yet not despairing, I do live in hope. Duty commands me wail my husband's death, imperious love bids me to rejoice in thee. For fear thy dear these adverse passions, love, hate, hope, fear, joy, sorrow, daily fight, love, hate, hope, fear, joy, sorrow, all in one, continually so rack my troubled mind, as yet never yet I did such torments find.
Tush, this melancholy, nurse of grief, this dark, black, misty, foggy, peevish humor, breeder of doubts, and cheerful consumer, once having got possession of thy heart, sit still inventing of new-fangled fear, and put such vizards on thy passions, that as it seems, they so thy thoughts destruct, as if the staring of some hellish hag had moved a frenzy in thy vexed mind. But leave, my dearest Clytemnestra, leave to fear thy danger's shadow, for naught else I see. Why thou in mine shouldst thus tormented be.
This closet of my conscience is filled with woeful care and with heaviness. No ease, no pleasure, no relief I find, each fancy doth dismay a guilty mind.
Now droop Aegisthus, veil thy plume of joy, pull down the crest now of thy proud success. Love hath betrayed thee. O love's treason, fly, fly, fly away upon the winged winds, and in the farthest wilderness thee hide, where thou mayst live thy heaviness unspied.
Stay, Aegisthus, stay, my dear. Let not the rashness of my grieved mind make thee forsake me in thy wretchedness. Remember those same plaints thou pourest forth, and I did pity thee. My dear, like pity take on me, I have deserved it. Yet when love doth lead the government, desert doth idly plead.
Oh, how this sore sorrow cuts my heart. Sweet Clytemnestra, now I do perceive thou lovest me, but for that love, my dear, at my request leave off this causeless fear.
Yea, now, Aegisthus, now I do it leave. My husband's death is quite forgotten all. My pensive woe is turned to a sudden joy. What I did fear before was but a toy.
Oh, how these words do please Aegisthus' heart. Now will I go into the pleasant groves and hear the chirping birds' sweet harmony, forgetful of my grief and former pain. Farewell, sweet love, till we shall meet again.
Exit Aegisthus.
Farewell, sweet foe and loving enemy. Now Clytemnestra, being all alone, thy stubborn passions will begin to rage. Oh, that thou hadst that same delightsome tower of Scylla ringing with melodious joy to lenify the torments of thy heart. Oh, that Don Orpheus with his silver lute were present here, or who with music built the walls of Thebes, or he who by his skill moved the senseless dolphins onto Ruth. I am a leader. Go cause the music play.
And here the stage direction says music song.
No grief is so great, no woe so watchful is, but music's sound can cast it fast asleep. No joy so sweet, nor yet so happy bliss, may sooner make poor wretches leave to weep. Music doth please when all things else do grieve. Music our cares and sorrow doth relieve. Music doth move the senseless stones with joy. Music doth cause the very trees admire. Where music is, there nothing doth annoy. Though tigers fierce stood by me, we need not fear. Music doth oft restrain a bloody fight. Music the nurse of every sweet delight.
I should probably have got somebody else to read that, but
I got to the end and I went, wait a minute, Clytemnestra speaks at the end of this.
Yeah, so that was probably the song. Oh well, never mind. Clytemnestra has listened to the song about how great music is.
Oh dear. So now my grieved mind have raced her pain, the tumults of my passion are allayed. No more I mean to bathe my cheeks in tears, but glut myself with pleasure of my love. Sweet love of my Aegisthus, oh my dear, but hereafter now I need not aught to fear.
Exit. This is doing really different work to some of the stuff we've had earlier in the play, because this is basically psychological trauma being, and fear, and nothing actually plot-wise has happened at all. It's all about character. And it does it really, really nicely as well. Aegisthus comes in and sort of goes, hey, why are you sad? Look at my face. You're making me sad by you being sad. There's something really playful about actually their relationship. And the way they sort of talk to each other and try to allay the guilt that they feel. Because, they're not unguilty murderers. They haven't murdered because they like murdering. They murdered because they didn't really have that much of a choice, or at least they didn't see they had much of a choice. So, it's not like they're just constantly wandering around being evil, but then they have quite recently just gone, with immortal lines of die, raging woman, die, Cassandra, die. So that there are some alterations in speech patterns there. And then we get this song, to make her feel better, which seems to work. I mean, it's got to be a banger, isn't it? To change her mood so much. Thoughts on the room? This very different scene. Very different scene. I'm liking this scene. I'm liking this act. Act 4 is going down well with me. Eric.
I did enjoy the sort of, the sword of sorrow, the closet of my, I can't remember what the line was now, but I'll find it in a minute. I think basically the whole point of this this scene was, yet when love doth lead, the government deserts doth idly plead. Because these two people are now in power, which is kind of like, if they're obsessed with each other, they can't really lead the country / nation / whatever you want to call it.
There's a very different. It feels like a different writer. This act. I don't know if it's just me. It feels very. I mean, it's a bit over the top at times, but I'm really liking it. I mean, the bit when Aegisthus sort of just gets out the thesaurus, this dark, black, misty, foggy, peevish, it's, but it is sort of in character and it does sort of work, and I quite like the playfulness of some of this dialogue. Oh, love's treason, fly, fly, fly away upon the winged winds. It's dancing along quite pleasantly. Whereas I have to say I found some of the first half of the play a bit stodgy. It didn't have that lightness to it. Maybe it's gone a little too much the other way now, but it's doing different jobs. Rachael.
Yeah, I totally agree. It really does feel completely different. It feels like a completely different writer. And I think however this person wrote it, it was very clear, like, to an actor what sort of stage direction to take and like what the position is, even just from the writing, that there's, she's either standing or sitting and he's kneeling, or he's, bending down to see her face and she's avoiding him. And there is that lightness there. And I think it carries in even to the song, because I was humming it to myself, and there is like a little up, it just, it's not necessarily what the music is, but what it seems like to me, my impression is that it's a little upbeat and it's a little fast paced, something that you could actually dance to. So like playing this would feel like an actual concert song, that, perhaps young people would like.
Yeah. Other thoughts in the room on the viewers of this little exchange? Any thoughts? Eric.
I feel as though I'm holding the floor. I guess I just have a lot of thoughts because I'm rereading parts of it. There's like sort of the whole Clytemnestra going, I think my kids are going to kill me, and then ending up with, it's, that's at the end of the scene going, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go enjoy myself now with my love. I mean, that's quite a shift if you think about it, even if it's not sort of plot point. Technically it could be a plot point because it just means that their guard is down. But I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's not unplot related, but to say you could remove it and it wouldn't actually matter to the overall structure of the play. I wouldn't suggest doing it because I think it's a very good scene and it sets up a sense of who these people are again. It's nice, because there's always danger. I think in some of the earlier scenes, Aegisthus and Clytemnestra do feel quite well sketched out as a couple. When they start getting more involved in the rest of the action and other people are about, they don't function quite as interestingly. They feel like a genuine couple who are sort of clinging to each other amidst terrible situations. But then maybe that's taking it too far. I don't know. Rachael.
I also enjoyed it because I think it's a different side of her than we've got in previous scenes. It just seems different. It seems gentler, a gentler side of herself, completely, maybe what it was before Agamemnon was coming home and before all these other things and the tragedy begins. And it's sort of a reminder of their humanity. And it, I don't know, makes the characters a little more complex, well-rounded, and, enjoyable to see and enjoyable to play.
Yeah, so Aegisthus has come in and said, hey, it's a lovely day. Stop brooding about, things, because, we're safe now. We're in power. Everything's fine. And does not listen to anything Clytemnestra says. And Clytemnestra is soothed by some sweet music and exits. Or does she? Interesting question, because Act 4, Scene 3, we have the helpful stage direction. Enter Eurysthenes and the rest. So there's people on stage.
Tell me, I pray, is this Aegisthus' house?
It is.
Is this the queen? Or so she seems to be.
Have I not given out a... No, I haven't. Desna, will you step in to be Charisia, Sass, whoever that is?
Yes, sir.
All hail unto your princely majesty. I come to greet it with some happy news.
God's granted true. But say, who did you send?
Phenoteus, king of Phocis, your good friend.
He is indeed, but what's the happy news?
To speak in brief, it is Orestes' death.
Ay me out, alas, so baleful day.
Messenger, listen not to her, but tell me, what didst thou say even now to me?
You need not fear, Orestes now is dead.
Me. Ay me out, alas, I am undone.
What, will you still thus interrupt our speech? Messenger, say, how did Orestes die?
Illustrious queen, the thing which you require is both my charge and duty and desire. Led by the love of honor and renown, he came to Delphos, in those solemn games, ordained in memory of Python's death, to win him credit for his knightly deeds, where he behaved himself as well as all, who saw him wondered at his worthiness, so well proportioned was his personage. For hand, for leg, for body, face, and feature, he might had been a pattern kept of nature, and for to say the truth, there never was so brave a man seen at those games before him. Happy that man that nearest might adore him. Now when he had 5 games with honor won, the judges made it openly be cried that he had got the honor of the day, which being done, environed with a troop of bravest knights was to his lodge inbrought. And when the second morning now was come, he riseth up in haste, and with those knights repaired again unto the former place, where with the applause of the standers by, he was received with exceeding joy. Had he stayed there, how happy had he been? But stay in glory's top is seldom seen. Death comes to glorious men when gods decree it. Glory so blinds them they cannot foresee it. The lots were given forth, and as they fell, each in his place do wait within the list. 10 of the bravest and worthiest knights mounted in chariots upon ivory seats, until the trumpet summoned them to run. There every one begun to do his best, and whip their milk-white steeds, whose thundering hoofs seemed to make the earth to quake for fear, raising thick clouds of dust into the air, which all the place with darkness covered. Long time they strived, yet none the other passed, which made the people greatly to admire, and shout with joy that all the place did ring. At last a worthy knight of Aemia had so encouraged his winged steeds that like to Pegasus they swiftly fly, and all the company behind them leave, drooping and dropping one behind another, who when he had 6 pillars safely passed, in turning at the 7th he chanced to meet the chariot of a knight of Africa, whose foamy steeds so swiftly ran their course that they might not by any means be stayed. So both their chariots broke, and over them the prancing horses of the 3rd did run, and so the 4th and 5th, till of those 10 there were but 2 to strive for victory. The foremost was a lord of Athens, whom when your Orestes saw and none besides, he so inflames his steeds till at the last he getteth ground, and left the lord behind, which whiles he fears to lose he mends his pace, and ever runneth swifter than before, with sight of which the people shouts for joy. But suddenly his furious steeds do run upon a pillar which his chariot broke, and down he falls, and his amazed steeds drew him about the race in piteous sort, and so disfigured his comely face, that when we took him up, we scarcely knew whether it were Orestes, yea or no. The people wept and mourned for his mishap. And when they had with great solemnity his body burnt, his ashes they preserved, and them into a brazen pitcher put, which certain lords of Phocis hither bring to be interred in his father's tomb.
Ay me, then all the royal blood is gone.
What shall I say? Shall I be happy count, or rather wretched for my son's mischance? And surely I am greatly grieved thus daily to live in these calamities.
And grieves your majesty to hear this news? Then I am sorry of mine ill employment. Pardon, sweet queen, I thought you would rejoice. So said my king, and I am but his voice. Though thunderclaps give with their noise a wound, blame not the air that reports the sound.
Oh, sorry. A messenger and a mother cannot choose but weep to hear her son's mischance. The she do love him never a whit at all.
In vain. I then have brought his happy news to you. Alas, that I should grieve a princely heart, I humbly crave your license to depart.
No messenger, not so for little cause have I, though nature bids me to lament his death, since he whom I did love so tenderly hath most ungratefully forsaken me, to live with strangers in a foreign land, and never could vouchsafe to see again his loving mother, who loved him so dear, that casting in my teeth his father's death, and threatening dire revenge, dismayed my mind, and spilled the sweetness of my nightly rest. Now, free from fear, I shall in safety live, and cannot choose but bless this happy day. Though I lament him in a mother's mind, the loss is small, I found him too unkind.
Ay me, now I must bewail thy death, O dear Orestes. Out, alas, why did my mother make thy death so light?
Well, now, Electra, he is gone. Now you remain alone. Aegisthus shall you tame.
Hearken, O nemesis, and revenge this wrong.
The wrong you mean your disobedience.
See the exactions of insolence.
Why do not you and your Orestes then seek to restrain this insolence?
No, ourselves are so constrained we cannot if we could.
Now, willingly I would make thee, my friend, some worthy recompense if thou couldst bridle this her lavish tongue.
Beauty and honor, health and felicity wait ever on your royal majesty. Wait, no, that's not me. I'm sorry. So an E and just went for it.
Beauty and honor, health and felicity, wait ever on your royal majesty. Pleaseth it you, your servant, to dismiss?
No, messenger, not so. For 'twould honor both to me and him that you sent you if I let you go away, and not condignly make you recompense. But come you in with me, and leave her here to wail and mourn her sorrows at her will.
And exit Clytemnestra with the messenger. It's interesting. We have this long descriptive speech about something that didn't happen. I find that really weird. I find it's important. Obviously, this information has got across that Orestes is dead. Yes, honestly, definitely dead. But why do we need to hear the whole story if none of it's true? I mean, what's to keep us listening to this speech? Is it to watch the reactions of Clytemnestra and see how she's taking it, or what's its dramatic function? So I'm curious about this one. Eric, then Rachael.
I was just going to say that, well, for one thing, the more detail you give, the more believable it will be. Therefore, like with any retelling of anything, like sort of, if I go, yeah, I read a book, you'll be like, so what? Whereas if I go, yeah, I read War and Peace, and it was about, the period in the 1800s or whatever it was, which I've not read because I can't tell you about. Anyway, yeah, next time I should pick a better example. But yeah, I think it's that, and sort of, if I remember correctly, Eurysthenes is actually an ally of Orestes, although this hasn't been set out in expositions, so I don't quite know. Like usually, they plot towards the audience kind of thing, so it doesn't seem to be aware that it's a play, which is interesting.
Well, we met Eurysthenes earlier. They set all this up. So he's popped around the corner, pretended he's come from a long way away, put some dust on his heels, and rode into Dodge. So yeah, there's all sorts of that there. I'm not so sure. Sometimes the thing that catches people out in lies is their willingness to give you extraneous information that they've worked hard on, and like, actually, no, I don't care. Is it dead? Oh, good, lovely. Move on. Rachael.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's it's supposed to fit the scene, if this was in another play, and they're trying to make it as much truth as possible. And I think there's shock to the audience there, because we expect Clytemnestra not to cry, but she starts crying, and so you think that it's this turn and it's a sudden difference, and then I think it affects the messenger speech, and it also gives us two different changes of mood there, one where she starts crying, and then when she tells us, I'm not sad about this, or I'm not whatever, I'm glad that he's dead, or something like that. It's like a 2-hit to the audience of shock, because we've just had that other scene with her and Aegisthus, her saying that she fears they'll get their revenge.
Yeah, I mean, Clytemnestra has that really interesting line: "A mother cannot choose but weep to hear her son's mischance, though she do love him never a whit at all." I mean, that's quite a thing, and the game that Eurysthenes is playing here as well, of that his exit line is really interesting. Do you want to dismiss your servant? It says, no. You've come a long way. Come in, have a cup of tea and a scone. Which and that's again a nice bit of misdirection, because of course presumably part of the plan is he gets invited into the palace, because we need someone to let everybody in. So you'd be stuffed if she said, yeah, here's a $5, thanks very much, and sent him on his way. Yeah, it's interesting. Say this lengthy discourse on something we know, we have been explicitly told in great detail, didn't happen. But yeah, the reactions of Electra and Clytemnestra side by side to it, and then of course they have a bit of a face-off. And of course, Electra doesn't know her brother's still alive. I mean, it's that whole thing. You get it it's in Sherlock Holmes, and you get it in other things as well. We couldn't tell you the truth because we needed your reaction to be real, sort of excuse thing. Other thoughts, Eric, then Rachael.
It's more a question than a thought. When Clytemnestra goes, "Would I make thee my friend some worthy recompense if thou couldst bridle this her lavish tongue?" Is that to the messenger, or that just out loud? Because then he replies, "Beauty and honor, please you your servant to dismiss," which sounds like, oh yeah, I don't want to butt into this like family argument right now.
Yeah, because that Clytemnestra's line does seem to be, it's like she has an argument with Electra and then immediately turns to a stranger and says, "I will give you anything in the world if you could just shut this person up." Do you have any parenting tips at all? Because I've got nothing. Yeah, I think that seems to be the way it works. Yeah, and that he doesn't want to anything necessarily to do with that. Yeah. Rachael.
About not telling Electra, it could also just be that thing where they're testing to see where other people are, because I don't think the reaction of Clytemnestra crying was expected. And then Electra's genuine, tears, because they've been away for a long time, and I don't know if they know where everybody's loyalties lie. So this lie also provokes what reactions and lets them know who they can trust in a way, who's a genuine person by how they're affected by this lie.
Yes. Any other thoughts? Otherwise, we will proceed with what happens next. So, Clytemnestra has exited with the messenger. Electra is left alone with various servant-type peoples who are standing around.
And she's gone. Oh, cruel, cruel dame. Oh, my dear Orestes. Oh, the only hope of this my life, and art then dead. I mean, shall my father then be unrevenged? Out! Alas, why shall Electra do? Oh, wretch, oh, wretched woman, born to misery, forsaken I me, bereft of father, brother, all my love's joys at once, must basely serve mine enemies. Oh, death, oh, life far worse than death shall I endure to live in thraldom. No, hasty death, and let thy sharpest arrow pierce my soul.
O gods, and see you this, and you endure so great calamity to afflict our heart.
Ay me, out, alas.
Why weeps my lady thus so bitterly?
Ay me.
Dear lady, cease these tears.
Leave off, you kill my heart with grief.
Why says my lady so?
If you dare to make me hope now he is dead, you will increase my grief.
Oh, banish all such thoughts. Was not the Argive prophet also slain by treacherous wife?
Now out, alas, I mean.
Yet after death he happy is.
Aye, but he had one who did revenge his death, but I, alas, I'm forsaken, I'm alone.
Dear heart, lady, hard hath been thy chance.
Aye, I know in this same gulf of miseries.
We know you daily will in sorrow be.
Then leave to comfort me when nothing's left,
What says my lady?
since that he is dead.
All men must die.
What die so cruelly?
Harm is not seen before it comes.
'Tis true, since he by stranger's hand and not mine
Good gods.
was burned without his sister's tears.
And enter Chrysothenis hastily.
O sister, happy news hath made run, like regarding modesty to tell these joyful tidings of thy happiness.
And is there any remedy yet left to cure my pained and distressed heart?
He's come. Now is Orestes come. Oh, now let us rejoice. Now is our brother come.
Chrysothemis, the extremity of grief hath made thee quite forget thyself and me.
No, Electra, I am not deceived, for he is come. Now is Orestes come.
Wretched I, Chrysothemis, who told that he is come? How may we credit him?
Even now by many tokens manifest, I well perceived it none hath me told.
What are the signs by which thou knowest it then? What flattering hath the frantic maid?
Good sister, leave your grief a while, and hear the cause of this my joyful happiness.
Speak, if you will, if that be your delight.
Then here I'll tell you all, when as I came unto my father's sepulchre, I saw it all with streams of milk distill and flowers of sweetest savor round about it strewed, which when I found, I greatly did admire, and looked about lest some should treason work. And when I saw that all things quiet were, I nearer went, and there by chance I find the young man's hair, but newly shorn of. Then presently I called to mind my dear brother Orestes, into exile gone. Therefore I look up, and never would profane them with my grief. Yet sudden joy did make the tears to trickle down my cheeks. And now I hope this hair was his, for who should honor so my father's sepulchre? Then leave, dear sister, now at last to mourn, and know that fortune doth not always frown. This day begins our happiness again.
What frantic thoughts are these? I pity, sister, this thy wretchedness.
And do my words then nothing ease thy grief?
No, not a whit, for they on passion are founded, not on any groundless sure.
Is not that sure which is so manifest?
Unhappy sister, whom thou thinkst alive is dead, alas, my fancies all are vain.
Now, alas, who told that he was dead?
he that did see him both alive and dead.
Where's the bringer of this sorry news?
He merrily is with my mother gone.
Who was it then, alas, did sacrifice upon my father's tomb? Them do you know?
No, sister, but I think someone did leave them as monuments of Orestes' death.
By me. I thought my coming should have brought a comfort to thy pensive heart. But now I here have found mine own redoubled grief.
But follow me, and I this grief will ease.
Can I him raise again from death?
Not so, for I were mad were I conceited thus.
What is it then you would have me perform?
To put in action what I thought upon.
If it be good, I do it willingly.
And be attentive while I tell it you. You know how comfortless we now do live, deprived of friends and hope of all relief. And truly, whilst my brother lived, I joyed and hoped he would revenge my father's death. But since I only put my trust in you, fear not, good sister, this mine enterprise, but with a princely courage follow me, who will conduct thee to Aegisthus' bed, where both we will our weapons dye with blood and murder him who hath my father slain. How likes Chrysothenis of this advice? Why shouldst thou longer tarry to consult and feed thyself with vain conceits of hope? Thrust from possessions of our father's goods, we wretchedly shall live unmarried, and want the chiefest comforts of our life. For sure, Aegisthus feareth nothing more than that our stocks should anything increase, to pay him vengeance for his foul deserts. Let me persuade thee, sister, to this fact. It will be pleasing to have our father's ghost, and greatly ease our brother's pensive soul. Then shall we honor get of valiant minds, and be conjoined in worthy marriage. Honor by nature is desired of all, and who will not us worthy think of it? If we with honorable minds shall seek for to revenge our father's cruel death, then leave thy doubts and full-minded advise. Set all thy thoughts on this. There is no shame more greater than to live a shameful life.
These things crave wisdom's aid.
So she should have done indeed, before she spake one word. For why should she so desperately conclude thus to endanger both herself and me? Do weapons aught beseem a woman's hand? Or have we force for to compare with them? No, sister, no, they are too strong for us, and daily doth their power increase, when ours is every day more weakened than before. How can we hope to scape without revenge? Who seeks to overthrow such mighty foes? Take heed, good sister, lest you add aught else unto this burden of our miseries. 'Tis little credit shamefully to die, and end our life in thraldom and in grief. Nor is it death which I so greatly fear, but still to live a life far worse than death. Sweet sister, let this wrathful fury pass before it utterly deceives us both. Bethink yourself, Electra, it is best with willingness to obey the mightier sort. Come, let's be gone, these places are too open.
And we can assume they exit. And now we have the chorus, which we have an interesting stage direction that they're at the east, apparently.
Fortune a nurse for Eve orphan's age provides.
Chance nature's outcasts for her darlings takes.
The pilgrimage of orphans heaven's guide.
Great Jove makes much of them whom man forsakes.
What earthly wisdom undertakes that for ye most part worse betides?
Orestes now to man's estate again is grown.
Orestes hath a tutor and a friend.
Orestes is come home safe and unknown.
Orestes may Electra now defend.
Aegisthus may be overthrown, and Clytemnestra's pride may end. Changing their... that's a stage direction.
Yes, it is. And now they change their places to the west.
Eurysthenes his tale is well received.
The queen is most news doth not mistrust.
With pleasing news, small care is soon deceived.
Cannot be in minds possessed with lust.
All circumstances well discussed, some of their lives must be bereaved. Again.
The queen would seem her son's death to lament.
The queen continues her hypocrisy.
The queen in music seeks heart's content.
Aegisthus calls her fear but melancholy.
Comfort and muse both but folly. Neither can ill abodes prevent
changing their places to the midst.
Sorry,
now.
yes, no, you're right. It's like, God, they're sneaky stage directions, these.
Electra's courage serves her, had she might.
Electra may be glad and save her pains.
But they will give Electra no such light.
For secrecy best, great exploits maintains.
Woe to him that in others' right, not knowing this, securely reigns.
Again.
I was going to say yes, I think that's...
As methinks Orestes' heart doth faint.
He will be strengthened by friends' admonition.
Nature against revenge, a great restraint.
A token of the kinder disposition.
Who can pity their condition of misery in a blood attaint?
Lust.
Murder.
Grief.
Revenge.
The gods' permission.
Well, once again, the chorus is doing something really different. It's like the chorus is never doing the same thing. We've got all these sneaky stage directions, which sort of forces me to assume the voice of the Lord of the Nazgul, sort of again, as you move from one thing to another. So they start in the east, they change their places to the west, they do something again, they change places again, then they go into the middle, and then they do something else again, this is proper choric stuff, isn't it? It's passing the baton line by line and things. Greg?
So I know it's a very much later text. It reminded me a lot of the aunts and uncles in the family reunion. That's the first time of any of this that sort of very Greek, ancient Greek style. I know T.S. Eliot, but he kept it very close to the style of the Greek chorus. But yeah, no, fab last chorus. That's probably the most. What do you call it? The most chorus, decent chorus we've had so far.
Yeah, you feel that could involve singing and dancing, doesn't it? Rather than just some people standing doing a speech. Eric?
Well, for me, it went much later to cell block tango, or it's like pop six squish and all that stuff, and you got each person saying one word, like lust, murder, grief, revenge, the gods' permission. It kind of it has that sort of vibe to it that you could totally just add music and it would be jazz.
Nice bit of nice bit of it feels very performing. Whereas some of those earlier choruses are interesting, but I'm not sure how performing they are. Whereas this feels like there's something going on here. And especially as we go from Electra being really, really sad to her sister coming in, going, "Your brother's here," and going, "You okay? Have you gone?" Yeah. You sure you're okay? No, definitely alive. Definitely not dead. And then Electra goes off on, shall we do the killing? Shall we just do the murdering now? Shall we do some murdering? And everyone's sort of going, maybe not. Maybe wait. I'm quite surprised, actually, Electra doesn't sort of say something at the end there. Even if it's just to the audience who are like, I so want to do some stabbing. Quite keen on doing some murdering. Lots of options there. Thoughts from the room before we go into final thoughts for the play overall. Eric.
well, technically we've not done this because it's classical Greek tragedy, but I mean, the way the relationship between Electra and Chrysothemis is set up is very much Antigone and Ismene, where one is the sister that wants to do the thing and be brave and do the, yes, as you can see lightning in the background. And then you've got the other sister who is the exact, well, not opposite, but very sort of conservative and unwilling to sort of jump into it immediately.
Yeah. Other thoughts? No. Okay, we're going to go into final thoughts then for the play overall, for those who've been here for the play overall, and see where we are. Yeah, so Greg, you've been here for pretty much all of it. Let's start with you. How are we feeling the sort of general shape of the play now? We talked about last time about how it's sort of big, it's sort of small. Do we want to do bits of it? Do we want to do? I have to say this one is this session has given us a lot more stuff to work with, I feel, than some of those earlier stuff that felt a bit raggedy around the edges. Greg?
Yeah, this part of it felt much more with it, and a lot more sort of stuff we can actually use. I really like. Weirdly, I think that chorus was probably my favourite bit. Though Clytemnestra did have some wonderful moments in it. Apart from "Die," whatever that line was earlier, which I adored. I just couldn't do it full justice tonight. But no, really interesting. Enjoyed it. Thank you. Looking forward to finding, well, not finding out how it ends, but finding out how they deal with the end, so to speak.
Tom, I forget how much of this you've been here for. I think you were here at the very, very beginning, and then so yeah. Any final thoughts from you?
I agree. I liked the tempo, the different, the different tempo, the different cadence, the different. I found it really refreshing. That you can have that in the middle of all the rest and it still work beautifully. In fact, it's like a zest, if you will, like some good cooking, and suddenly you get this lime zest, which is not the basic ingredient, but it lifts everything else, I think. So,
yeah. Desna, you've just been here for today and read some of the most vital dialogue as well. I mean, when we were saying beforehand, you can read Glaucopis, and which was just a name on my sheet, and it was a massive role. It was an enormous role.
Yeah, so it's a bit hard to have any thoughts about the whole thing, having just been here today, but I'm just enjoying kind of soaking up everybody else's thoughts on it and, yeah, their wisdom.
Eric, do you have any wisdom to share with the room? Any final thoughts about the play so far?
Wisdom, maybe not, but I mean, I enjoyed the whole Clytemnestra Electra thing and the way that was set up, but also because you kind of know from the beginning, like beginning being as soon as Electra and Clytemnestra come up, you know that it's going to be war. Yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting as well. Just considering we started from Atreus killing his mother-in-law, I think it was, or was it Clytemnestra killing her mother-in-law? I can't remember. Anyway,
Clytemnestra unknowingly killing her mother-in-law because of Atreus. Yes.
Yeah, it just kind of, I mean, it's a very different journey, and some parts feel like, you could just break this up into several small plays or sketches. Like if you were to make this a TV show, you would have like season 1 be up to a certain point, and then season 2 would be up to like, I don't know, maybe the murder of sort of, end of act 2 kind of thing, and then season 3 would be act 3 and so on and so forth. I don't know. Yeah.
Yes, Netflix. We are available for hire. It's we're down with that. Absolutely. Rachael, any final thoughts?
I think there was some nice darkly comedic moments in this one, with the one where she's crying and then right afterwards she's like, any mother would cry even if like they didn't love their son a whit. That's just such those are just such lines and such actions. I did love I feel like there's some more intimate moments that we got today. I mean, between the two sisters and between Clytemnestra and Aegisthus, that I think we had a little bit in the beginning, but they're a little bigger, quieter moments. They're given a little more space to build up character, or to build up, something else that takes them, I think, makes them not just simple, but makes them more, like, doesn't make one person, like, I mean, Clytemnestra is the bad guy, but it gives you some humanization of her. And then that chorus at the end, there does definitely seem like there's moments in this that invite people to dance, and that there's parts of this that are very concert like.
So yeah, I mean, it's very much a script that feels like there's a script with different hands involved. It feels like it's doing the kind of thing that we've had with Inns of Court plays, where each act is given to a very distinctly different author, and that sort of maybe explains some of the plotting and the way it functions. It may also be that because the bits we've looked at the end of the last session, the beginning of this session, are explicitly coming, or more explicitly coming, from Sophocles, that maybe also the source material that they're working from is a slightly cut above, and already shaped by a very good playwright. So it may be that. It may be we should perhaps be thanking Sophocles for the material that we've done here today. I wasn't following today to see how closely it was tracking, but I'm fairly certain a reasonable percentage of that was in there. But maybe from other things as well. That's perhaps something for another time. We have one more session to go to find out how this all ends. I'm thinking it's going to end happily. I think everyone's going to get together, sit around the table, share some feelings, and maybe some truths, and that's where I think we're going to go. Any additional final thoughts anyone wants to throw in before I close the session? Okay, well, that's it. All that needs to remain is to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Die, raging woman! Die, Cassandra, die!